Awesome. I'm honored to be here with you all today and to share the stage with three incredible women who I've been lucky enough to be kind of partners in crime in growing this ecosystem. As they said this morning, and our lovely mayor just said, this ecosystem is not new, and a lot of us have been at this for a while. And so I feel I want each of the women on this stage to kind of tell you a little bit about what they do, but we're going to start first with Anna, who was instrumental in, as Christine mentioned this morning, bringing 500 startups to Miami, and now is on to a new role, which I'm really excited for her to tell you about. So, Anna.
Thank you, Maria. I'm super excited to be here today. It's like a coming home for me. So I spent 4 years at 500. My first role was really launching the 500 Miami office and helping build out the ecosystem and being a big champion for the city. And 8 months ago, I joined SoftBank, which is the larger VC investor in the world, and I was very excited to see that the organization had decided to also make a very big bet on the city, and so it just kept building on top of what I personally had been building on, and all of you ladies as well had been building on. So I'm very excited that there's this group today here together. There's 500 people, there's Miami people, there's international, that people are visiting us. Hopefully you're getting excited with what you're seeing throughout these days. My role is to find and invest in the most amazing companies that are building out of Miami or are moving to Miami, and help through the availability of capital to attract this talent and make this place an ecosystem where any founder can come and build out a global multi-billion company out of. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Leanne, I know we've worked on many initiatives over the years, and now you kind of shifted, but are still doing much of the same incredible work you've been doing for years. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thanks, Maria. I'm super excited to be here. How many folks do we have from Miami, by show of hands? Yes. Okay. How many folks from out of town that are visiting us? Awesome.
Wow. How many of you are considering moving to Miami? Good, I like it.
We got to get that number up. So thank you, Maria. I'm Leanne Buchanan. I'm the president of Air Ventures, and we are a venture studio here in Miami that really focuses on leveraging technology to help solve for systemic gaps in access, opportunity, and racial equity. But a lot of my work in Miami is much like the title of this particular panel, which is looking at how to make the ecosystem here around tech, innovation, and entrepreneurship more equitable, more sustainable. When I ran the Venture Cafe, which we kind of launched from start to what it was when we turned over operations, we were able to serve about 55,000 innovators in South Florida. And our work has continued to really assessing the ecosystem through data-driven strategies and frameworks to look at how we can really have some accountability behind growing an inclusive ecosystem. So I'm really excited to talk about that work today.
Awesome. So Laura, you are, welcome, former early eBay, early Facebook, made your way to Miami, started the Venture City. I worked there for 2 years, so this also feels very, great to be with you again. Can you tell us a little bit about your path and kind of what the Venture City does?
Of course. First of all, I'm sorry that I lost my voice. There's so much going on in Miami that I can't even keep up. I think that I talk too much. But the first thing is, let's acknowledge where we are, the New World Symphony. This is one of those, I believe that music and art and tech should always be together. And I think that what the New World Symphony has been doing over the years as one of the most innovative auditoriums and schools of music in the world, and of course in the United States, is hosting this event today is phenomenal. Also, thank you to 500 Startups, of course, for being such a trailblazer, not only for Miami, but globally. I've been always fascinated by the work that 500 Startups and Endeavor organization has done. And as a founder myself, I built my first company when I was 21. And now in the dark side, let's say, in the world of capital, it's fascinating to see everything that's happening. So why I moved into the world of capital is because I believe that, the industry of venture capital hasn't changed much in the last 35 years. It's exactly the same type of VC structures since they started in the 80s, I believe. And so we believe that capital is not the only thing that founders need. We believe that talent and that experience and wisdom and known mistakes that we may have done in the past as fund managers now is what we need to give and share to the next generation. So we chose Miami, but not only because of Miami, but because we believe in Miami to the world. And now this is coming a reality, and we are fascinating with everything that all together, we can do for the ecosystem.
Awesome. On that note, I'm the only one who was born and raised in Miami. I've left twice. Thanks. Like others, I've left twice, come back twice. It always has a way of bringing you back, particularly when it's Boston and Chicago that you leave to and it's freezing. But you are all immigrants and have not only chosen Miami as your home, but chosen to dedicate your real kind of careers to improving the ecosystem here. What was it about Miami that drove you to come and to play such a vital role?
So in my case, I wrote about this in a blog post. I didn't want to come to Miami in the first place. I was kind of dragged here. And it took a while for the city to grow on me. This was 5 years ago, and it was so different from what it is today. But Miami, even then, had a way just of growing on you. It has such an amazing quality of life that I just started falling in love with the city. And then I was lucky to find you all, so I found my tribe. And, it's like a small and mighty group of people believing in a vision for a city. And building towards that potential, that's just extremely exciting. I've lived in other cities, New York and Paris and whatever, and it feels like everything has been said and done, and you're playing catch up. And in Miami, it felt like it was a clean slate, and there was everything to write and to do, and I got to have a big hand at shaping that alongside you, and the people will be in the next panel as well. So that's extremely exciting. You feel the energy of building, and you don't know how it's going to turn out, but it's a privilege to be a part of building that. And specifically as a Spanish speaker, I spent a lot of time in different cities in the US. Miami is the only place where I see that you're not discriminated if you speak Spanish. I think on the contrary, Americans come to Miami and they feel foreign in the city, that they think it's their own country, but they don't feel they understand what's going on. But it feels like it's really, I know there's a lot of work to do towards still inclusion, but it's much more diverse and inclusive already than other traditional hubs. So that diversity, that acceptance, people with welcome arms, when I got here, it's very special, and I just felt immediately part of something that I wanted to help continue to grow.
I think that's a great question. When you look at the demographics of Miami, I think over 60% of our population is foreign-born. On this panel, we are a little bit over-indexing on that number. But I'm originally from Canada, and I'm a recovering lawyer now in tech. And I think that is probably indicative of what Miami's tech and innovation ecosystem is that it's iterative. It allows for you to reinvent your identity, to try new things. The structures around power and opportunity are not yet, to your point, Anna, so entrenched that you can't make something happen. I think about the work that I did through Venture Cafe. Like, I left the law to launch this kind of tech and innovation hub for activity and kind of bringing people together. But quite frankly, I remember Matt Hagman's going to be on the next panel. I was like, I don't know anything about tech. I don't know anything about ecosystem building. And I don't know anything about entrepreneurship other than entrepreneurship by necessity. But I think what's interesting about Miami is it is a city, it's a region where you can start and you can access a lot of the resources that you need to get from idea to prototype, from prototype to maybe something viable. And then now, I think the big challenge of Miami, and I'm an honest person, we have a challenge with scale. And so there's really an opportunity for us to build the infrastructure of supports around how to help companies scale, like the work that SoftBank is doing, the work that Venture City is doing. And then I also think Miami is a place where, yes, there's diversity, but there's also a lot of challenges around inclusion. There's a lot of hairy social issues that folks like myself that are focused on social impact can actually try new things and see if it would work. I think what's interesting about Miami as a market is that it is a sandbox. It is a place where if it works in Miami, best believe it's probably going to work anywhere in the United States and probably anywhere around the world. And so that's, I think, what keeps me here and what keeps a lot of people here.
So in my case, I'm originally from Spain, que viva España, I have to say. And I moved to the US 11 years ago. I landed in San Francisco. As Maria was saying, was an early employee at Facebook and also at eBay. And so, I chose Miami. I really knew. I've been working throughout my career in the UK, in Germany, in Spain, in many cities in Latin America as part of my responsibilities. And when I had the chance to choose where and what I wanted to do next, I chose Miami. And the reason was because talent has no zip code. I remember when I was hired by Facebook, I was the first employee outside the United States in the growth team, alone in Spain, 9 hours time difference with my boss in San Francisco. And, I wasn't the smartest kid in the block, with whatever the block means right now, but I did know what I wanted to do and how I wanted to contribute to the company. And I did it. So when I was able to choose why and where, I was so clear that I wanted to be part of what Miami was going to become. And before choosing Miami, I have to say that I met a lot of people from Miami that I could have never imagined that they were doing the amazing things they were doing here. They were so under the radar because, of course, everybody loved to talk about San Francisco, which is a 70-plus-year-old ecosystem, New York, which I think is more or less 30, and some other ecosystems, Berlin, the UK, and some other places in China, right? But nobody was seeing the raw diamond that Miami was. And again, it's not just Miami for Miami, but from Miami to the world. So I think that has been the best decision we've ever taken. Today, we support over 160 founders from Miami. We're only 4 years old. We have companies all over the States, all over Latin America, a couple in Asia, Africa, and Europe. And this is our heart. This is where our heart beats. And all of the tests and the products that our companies are building have a real core to the Miami talent. So once I chose Miami, and I would choose Miami twice, and I would choose Miami 3 times, no matter if the rest of the world sees it or not. The talent is here, the talent is coming back, and from Miami to the world is a clear reality.
Thank you. So
we should give that a round of applause.
I'm gonna get removed my passport from Spain, but anyway.
she's revoking her citizenship. So you guys have been here for a while. How have you seen the ecosystem as a whole change, and particularly the venture world change in Miami? Other than we're now getting valuations that are insane, but that's probably worldwide. But yeah.
Yeah, so when I was an operator and a founder myself before coming into the venture world. When I started with my co-founder, Clara, when we started to look into how the venture capital world was working, we were like, what the hell? This is so oldish, right? It hasn't changed at all in the last year. So why don't we do something different? Where is the real value? Where can we add value here? And this is how we built this operator team from founders that have built companies before. Some of them were successful. I wasn't successful myself with my first company, but we did have a lot of wisdom, of course. So how can we put these things together so that capital is not the core? Of course, you need the capital to support all these amazing founders, but what else can we bring on top? And this is how we came with the Venture City, right? Like, okay, how can we believe that good founders choose the capital and not the other way around? It's not the capital that chooses the founders. So what can we do being the new kid on the block so that they choose us? And this is how we built an amazing network of experts all over the world, 35 people in our team with companies in all kinds of crazy segments, including crypto and so many other things now. So this is really the value of what we saw we could be bringing to the system, right? People with international experience, having made mistakes before, trying to disrupt this kind of like crazy now industry, and failing, as we say, earning at times and learning at others. But this is truly how we believe that we could, and this is why we chose the space.
Yeah, I think, Maria, you mentioned something interesting with the lead out to this question was we're seeing these valuations and these deals that are something that a lot of us had not seen before in Miami. I think, MoonPay was like $555 million.
Series A, they labeled it as
a Series A. Andrew just raised, I think it was $150 million Series D from Papa. And there's a lot of new companies that have come to Miami that are raising these astronomical figures where 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were like, yes, 10 million, 50 million, this is amazing. And so, I think Emerge put out this insights report, and I see Nancy's right up front, amazing storyteller in our ecosystem. We're seeing kind of triple-digit growth rates of the amount of capital deployed in our ecosystem. South Florida, the Miami MSA ranks 13th across the nation in terms of VC deployment. We saw 1.26 billion deployed just in Q1 and Q2 alone. And so that is not something a lot of us were talking about 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, in fact. And what we've seen change is there is a larger concentration of capital available. There's more access to VCs. There's more angel groups here. We're, Mayor Francis Suarez always says we're the capital of capital, so we're seeing a lot of availability. But I'll be honest, what we're not seeing, however, is more access points to that capital for a lot of the underrepresented founders, women, people of color, folks with disabilities. And so that is a growth opportunity for the market, for those of us that are here, that this is what we focus on. I think in that report, 106 deals, only 4 were women-led, and we still are not actually disaggregating to understand what percentage of capital is going to people of color, what percentage of capital is going to intersectionality. So we've seen a growth in the amount of capital that's available. We've seen funds like, Anna, you're probably going to talk about the amazing commitment that SoftBank has made to Miami, but I think we actually have an opportunity to look in terms of the numbers and understand how that capital is actually flowing and whether or not it's flowing equitably, because that to me is what a sustainable venture ecosystem looks like.
To follow up on what they're saying, when I got here 5 years ago, there were, I think, 2 institutional funds in Miami. Checks were small, and the best founders had to leave the city. They moved to San Francisco or New York to build their companies, to get access to that funding. And the ones that did get funding here, they were horrible terms. And they were not really favorable for them to continue fundraising moving forward. So it was really... ecosystems build on waves of networks, and you have the pillars which are capital and talent and access to markets, and there was scarcity in almost all of these pillars. And I'm part of one of the early waves, right, helping to build out these ecosystems, and I think that ecosystems develop in exponential curves, and so there was a lot of work by a lot of people for many years, and we wouldn't see any difference, and suddenly we hit an inflection point. But I do think that COVID accelerated really, really quickly beyond what I myself could have imagined the development of Miami, because as Laura said, Miami was a hidden jewel, but there was kind of a penalty for being based in Miami. It would be thought it's like a retirement city. It's too easy. Like, you're not ambitious enough or trying hard enough if you're building out of Miami. And when COVID came and people realized, also to Laura's point, you can choose where you want to live, which can be different to where you work, and we can work remotely, then suddenly the penalty was lifted, and it was like, oh, actually Miami is a really nice city, so I can work, and I can see the ocean, and I can go to the beach on the weekend, and I can have a nice life with my family, and still build an amazing company. So I truly think that unlocked a lot of what we're seeing now and started bringing really high quality people here. There were always high quality people, but like Laura said, you need to find them. They were like separate in underground pockets. And then suddenly people started coming and started pulling more people and started pulling more people. And I would say today we have a really good quality density of investors, of founders, of developers. There's a lot of work to do. I'm not underestimating that for sure. And we need more on-ramps to make sure it's as diverse as possible. But I'm happy to see that there's any availability of capital at all to start with. And then we can absolutely see how we make it more inclusive. And something that's different for me to see at 500, my role was developing ecosystems around the world. So I spent time in Latin America, in Eastern Europe, and a lot in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. And what we would see is it's founder successes that are pushing forward the ecosystem. And although we did have really good founders building out of here, Chewy, for example, it didn't quite give the ecosystem the push that it needed. And it was from the top down with the availability of capital that suddenly everything started to come together, which is a different trajectory that I've seen before. I think it's fascinating, but again, as we've been saying, Miami is developing in a very different way, and we don't yet know how that's going to turn out, but I think it's very exciting.
So the topic of talent always comes up. I think when we surveyed the ecosystem twice in the past 10 years, the first time it was fundraising. The second time, even pre-pandemic, it was talent. And I think that Miami founders were kind of, because of that, to a certain extent, started hiring remote early, which almost probably prepared them better for the pandemic. But then you would also hear there's often a disconnect between the talent and the universities and the companies kind of finding each other. But now, kind of looking forward, how are you seeing the talent landscape in Miami in terms of are your entrepreneurs getting the talent that they need here?
I think that's a good question. We just, in partnership with you, of course, finished the Ready Scorecard, which is one of the largest assessments of a tech ecosystem through the lens of racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. And one of the takeaways, one of the main findings was, yes, we have a dearth of talent. However, the connection points for more experienced talent and more diverse talent are difficult. So I think we talk a lot about having a tech ecosystem, but underlying any tech ecosystem is a well-developed tech talent infrastructure. You see in hubs across the world that those talent pipelines are really robust and really well entrenched. So and I think Miami, we have a lot of opportunities to understand where we have some specific tech talent placement gaps. The one that we're looking at specifically with one of our portfolio ventures, Talent Scout, is around experienced tech talent, looking at 6-7 years senior talent in data, engineering, growth, and product to get connected to the types of opportunities that they need. Because a lot of times when companies are trying to scale up, we are seeing these huge valuations, they can't find the more senior level talent that they need. 84.6% of the tech talent workforce has 6 years or less experience in South Florida. And so I think over 90% of most managers say we can't find senior talent that can scale the companies, that can get us where we need to go. And so solutions like Talent Scout are what are often VC driven or investor driven to help better leverage their networks of senior talent to help companies.
Thank you. So we have a very short time left, but Laura, what's next for Miami?
So it's let me just add one thing in talent. Who cares where the talent is today? I don't care. I simply don't care where the talent is. I just want the talent to do what they need to do for any of the companies. So I think that, and joining to the next question, adding to the next question, what's next? Look, Miami is going to become an amazing place because everybody wants to live here. We want to live here. It's not only about where you work, it's about where do you want to live. And so I don't care if my team members are in India, in Southeast Asia, or in Latin America, Boston. I just don't care. As long as they're happy doing what they want to do and really contributing to the success of the company. So having in mind that talent has no zip code, if you ask everybody around the world, where would they want to live? Many of them would say, of course, Miami. If I can work from any company in the world from Miami, why wouldn't I? And that's what's happening right now. People from San Francisco, New York, from the Nordics, from Latin America, from all over the place are moving to Miami. So yes, we have had a huge issue in terms of talent that was born in Miami, raised in Miami, and had to leave because they didn't have the opportunities. But now we're having an amazing boomerang effect of talent that wants to work from Miami to the world. So that's what's next to Miami, not only building for Miami, but from Miami to the world.
It's a perfect way to end. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.